It is good to see everyone this evening. This is our second community conversation focused on Proposition S. As I believe most in this room understand, it is listed on the ballot for November 4th. And we'll just have a bit of a conversation as I walk through some slides related to Prop S. So this slide has a number of really important pride points for us as a school district, but I want to highlight two of the bullets that you see. The third from the bottom says that 91.1% of students that took advanced placement tests scored a 3 or higher. We're pleased because that percentage, as well as the number of test takers, including the number of tests that have been taken, is a 5 to 6 year high for us as a school district. And as important and as prideful as those statements are for our high schools, this speaks to a cumulative effect of what's happening within our school district. The high school experience is based off of what's happening in the middle schools, and then the middle schools are based off of what's happening within our elementary schools. We are recording, so I'm going to clean up my comment when it comes to the niche.com rating, which is listed on the very bottom bullet here. It says we are a top 4 school district in the state of Missouri. With all due respect, I think that number and ranking is higher, but we're pleased that we continue to move forward and march forward as a school district, and we have the accolades that we in fact do. But we also recognize, because we've engaged in surveys and focus groups and had conversations with parents and with students, we recognize that there are some that say college is not the next step, at least at this point in time for my child. And although we love them all, at some point we want them to leave our house. We just do. It is the hope of every parent. But in 3 of our 4 high schools in our school district, we have a geometry and construction program. We also have students that are participating in tech and career tech programs at South Tech, as well as students in our schools that are participating in Skills USA competitions at the state level. I'm going to come back to that notion of competition in a bit, but the key is, regardless of pathway that our students are ultimately selecting, they are able to thrive in whatever scenario. This is a single slide that actually provides some upper-level summary of the accolades of our staff. We have amazing staff in every single building and department in the Rockwood School District. The truth is, this presentation could be 34 slides longer because we could literally have a slide highlighting the excellence of our staff building by building within our school district. We're very fortunate to have the staff that we have in the Rockwood School District. Our key is how do we continue to retain those staff members, those teachers in our district. This slide speaks to the ongoing fiscal practice in our school district that we're very, very proud of. You can see at the very top of the slide, you see that we are one of a very select number of school districts in the state that have in fact earned a AAA rating from Standard & Poor's. You can also see that we've been able to earn the Certificate of Excellence from 2 different agencies for 20 consecutive years. You can also see the Meritorious Budget Award. That is a more scrutinous process that our budget undergoes in order to qualify for the Meritorious Budget Award. And that's a 25-year consecutive streak that we have as a school district. This isn't about the past 5 to 6 years. It's an ongoing practice of fiscal responsibility that we have within our school district. And at the very bottom of that slide, you see the fact that we have a history of clean or unmodified audits when it comes to our audit report that we are ultimately receiving from our auditors. That is typically presented to the Board of Education at the end of December. When you add all of these particular bullets up, there is no other district in the state of Missouri that can make that particular claim. Okay, I am seeing a variety of ages in this room, so I hope that this analogy works. But on Thursdays on NBC at 8 o'clock, starting in 1989, there was a TV show that was aired that was called Cheers. And the tagline of Cheers was, okay, no one's going to help, that's fine, no, where everybody knows your name. That is a snapshot of St. Louis County. It's a big, small county, lots of connections, interconnections, one end of the county having an awareness of what's going on the other end of the county, a separate end of the county having some assumptions of what's going on the other end of the county, but that is truly a snapshot of how things really work within St. Louis County. Throughout this presentation, there'll be a number of slides that provide comparisons. In these comparative slides, you will see the Rockwood School District will be listed in blue, and other school districts in St. Louis County will have green bars next to them. But that is total tax rate, a comparison of total tax rate across the school districts that make up St. Louis County. Our tax rate is the lowest that it has been in 30 years. Actually, if this particular screen were to kick out in that direction, you could go on for a number more when it comes to years and actually see that our tax rate, at least what we've been able to uncover, has not been lower than it is right now as a school district. But for this conversation, the far left of that slide shows 1994 and takes us all the way through 2026 to compare tax rates. 1994 is an important year because that was the last time the Rockwood School District asked for a levy increase for salaries or operating expenses. 1994. This building was 1 year old in 1994. Rockwood Summit was 1 year old in 1994. And Lafayette High School would have been about 5 years old in 1994. Last week was having conversation with a staff member. Her spouse retired in June. He worked in the Rockwood School District. He started in 1994. To put this in context, for the entirety of his career, all in the school district, never saw the district actually have a ballot item focused on salaries or operating expenses. It has been a very, very, very long time. I don't think it's overdue. I think it's well overdue. This slide speaks to, we were actually in this room 2 years ago having conversations about Prop 3 at that particular point in time. And our philosophy is this: when we say we're going to put something on the ballot and that we're going to engage in particular activities when it comes to the ballot itself, it is effectively a handshake between the school district and the community. And our word is our bond. We will do everything that we can to live up to those particular obligations that are listed on the ballot itself. All of these projects were completed this summer. There were some buildings from the outside you couldn't tell work was in fact happening. Then there was a parking lot at Lafayette High School where you had some idea that maybe there's some changes that are happening on the parking lot at Lafayette High School. But regardless of the project that you see listed, all of these were completed. There was no interest that was incurred as a result of the completion of these projects. And that was always the frame, the thought behind Proposition 3. Literally, framing began in 2014, 2015 when it came to that particular proposition, but we've been able to complete this work. And to be clear, we have a tremendous amount of work in front of us, but we are moving forward with the projects as we promised we would as a result of the passage of Proposition 3. So revenue. For us as a school district, 79% of our revenue, in fact, comes from local funds. I will provide two districts for comparison in just a bit, but since 79% comes from local funds, by default, that means that the state and federal funds are providing netting us close to 20% of our revenue stream itself. So it's 79% for us as a school district, and we'll talk comparatively about what that means elsewhere. For clarity's sake, I want everyone to understand that we are receiving zero indication that state or federal funds are in fact on the increase, or that there's any expectation that they will be increasing. That means that what is happening locally is increasingly important when it comes to a funding perspective. This is an analysis of state funding in the state of Missouri with an overlay for what's happening in the Rockwood School District. The state adequacy target is what the state is basically allocating per student to educate a child via the Missouri Basic School formula. If you take that blue line and go back to 2005, all the way through 2025, over those years, there's been a 17% increase to that number. The challenge is what you see in orange, which is what it costs on average to educate a child in the Rockwood School District. In that same window of time, from 2005 through 2025, that increase is at a 65% change. 65% compared to 17%. This blue line, by the way, this expectation is actually laid out within the Missouri State Constitution. But if the blue is not covering the obligation, by default, it is putting pressure on local school districts to make up the difference so that we are able to meet our obligation to ultimately educate children within our school districts. In our school districts, 85% of our expenditures are focused on both salaries and benefits. You can see the breakout, kind of fractional breakout of these other obligations, but for us in the Rockwood School District, it's 85%. There are districts where that percentage is in the 80s. There are some where it's in the upper 70s, but a good chunk of what we're doing in terms of our expenditures is focused on both salaries and benefits in Rockwood. So remember the Cheers analogy, where everybody knows your name. On average, this is what school districts are spending to educate a child in St. Louis County. As superintendent, I will always tell you that there is space and opportunity for us to improve what we're doing academically for students. But you look at where we rank on this particular slide, and you think about the second slide that I shared with you. There is absolutely an argument that can be made that says there is a tremendous return on investment for what's happening within our school district compared to results. The great question is what is happening competitively with this notion of salaries and benefits with what's going on elsewhere in St. Louis County. But bang for buck, so to speak, you can see where we rank compared to other school districts in terms of their expenditure per ADA. Again, how much they are on average spending to educate a child in their respective school districts. So how do we get here? We have not asked for an operating levy increase in 31 years. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. For educators, for some educators, that is the entirety of their career. It's a very, very, very long time. We have one of the lowest tax rates in St. Louis County. Because we are comprised of both St. Louis County and Jefferson County, we have to charge a single tax rate. There are other school districts that are able to charge different rates because of different types of property. I'll provide an example of commercial taxation in just a bit. We are a school district that actually has a commercial tax base disadvantage compared to what's going on in other school districts. We're a largely residential school district, and this issue has been exacerbated as a result of the Chrysler plant, in fact, closing. So there are times we hear about a comparison between the Rockwood School District and the Parkway School District. Remember, we're 79% locally funded. Parkway is 91.5% locally funded. They have about 3,500 fewer students than we do as a school district. They have $1.1 billion more assessed valuation than the Rockwood School District. And as you think about the drive around this portion of St. Louis County, think about what you see on or adjacent to I-64 or 270. Think of the size of some of the buildings that you see adjacent to those two pieces of interstate. That's part of what is impacting them from a commercial tax perspective. The other school district that I'll draw into comparison is the Pattonville School District. I know an employee in that school district, and it's my wife, by the way, but they are 85 to 86% locally funded, and the Pattonville School District has two things that we do not: a casino and an international airport. I do want to be clear. This is not about blame. This is about context, fiscal context, and how they have different puzzle pieces to their respective tax structure compared to what we have as a school district. We have just under 18,000 students. We're 150.6 square miles as a school district in terms of size. You can see the number of schools. And the Hancock Amendment, which has been in place since 1980, restricts what happens. Although there are rising property values, the Hancock Amendment literally prohibits the school district from experiencing a windfall despite the increase of property values. I talked about commercial tax rate. I'm going to go back to the Cheers analogy where everybody knows your name. You see from a commercial tax rate perspective what other school districts are charging their commercial partners compared to what we're doing within our school district. Just fiscal difference of reality from literally the Rockwood School District compared to all of these other school districts that you see listed in green on this particular slide. So on July 30th, our Board of Education met to discuss a proposition that would be focused on salary, benefits, and ultimately school safety within our school district. And also, over the course of the summer, there was a survey that was conducted. We wanted to hear from our respondents. We've done this in the past. It's important that we're hearing from our respondents, from our stakeholders, when it comes to putting anything on the ballot. And we asked a question of what would your level of support be for a levy increase? And we asked that question at 3 different price points, at 75 cents, at 58 cents, and at the very bottom, 45 cents. The strongest level of support came in at the 45-cent level, in which 50% of the respondents said they would support or strongly support a tax levy. It's important to note we did not provide any background knowledge when we engaged in the survey. It was a cold survey purposefully. We wanted people to basically be with a neutral base, providing us answers to this very, very important question. This survey, in fact, helped to guide the decision to put 45 cents on the ballot for Proposition S. What is Proposition S? It is dedicated to help us with this notion of recruitment and retention of staff, of teachers, as well as addressing some employee benefit challenges that we are having as a school district. Safe schools, everyone in this library understands the importance of safety. It's not just what's happening within schools. Anytime people are congregating, we all have those thoughts and those concerns. We want to have some conversation of doing something to enhance our safety footprint as a school district. And then it helps to secure our future. This is not only important for us to be competitive today, but to keep us competitive in the future, especially in comparison with what's happening in St. Louis County. This notion of competitive pay is a growing issue. The truth is, when it comes to teachers, we are seeing schools of education, colleges of education, not only beginning to close across the nation, we're starting to experience that in the state of Missouri. It's harder to attract and to retain staff. I will point toward our child nutrition staff member there. There was a time in all 4 of our high schools when our students headed to lunch, they would see a number of options. There'd be a salad bar, a sandwich line, there'd be cuisine lines, whether it's Mexican, Italian, food, whatever the cuisine option happened to be. Right now, at one high school, we are able to offer a salad bar. And it's not due to lack of interest or desire. It's all about staffing. We do not have the staffing that is necessary to offer those variety of options that we've been able to offer in the past. Then our custodial challenges have been ongoing as a school district. And you see bus drivers listed. They are responsible to transport dozens of cherubs, whether elementary grade, middle school, which sometimes smells a little different on that bus, or high school. That's their charge, is to deal with dozens of cherubs, as well as dealing with the traffic that's literally around the school bus itself. We can't have a single day of school without having every single one of these team members being here, being present, and ready to contribute in the Rockwood School District. So, teacher pay, not only an issue for those that are entering the profession, but for those that are in the profession, experienced teachers as well. Let's imagine we're at the University of Missouri for a teacher fair. Someone is amped and they're ready to either relocate or return to St. Louis County to begin their teaching career. If we honestly believe that the districts above us in the blue are not leveraging our reality in blue against us, those districts in green above us in the blue are not leveraging that against us. I have some farmland in my home state of Wisconsin that I want to sell you. That's exactly what they're doing. That's precisely what they're doing. It's not going to be splashed on their social media feed or necessarily their website, but it's exactly what is happening. When I think of a teacher that has a master's degree, we've got a similar story. And to be very frank with you, there are districts I could point to that I know free agent hunt teachers and other positions within school districts, including the Rockwood School District. That's not a theory-based conversation or what could happen in 2 years. It is currently happening right now. The question is, are we going to be able to recruit and retain the quality teachers that we need to in order to continue to do what we do as a school district? Or are we going to be a farm system in which we get people ready to then leave and depart our school district? That's ultimately a part of the question that we have to face as not only a district, but a community. Our elementary or middle school administrative assistants, our secretaries, these individuals, if they are not the skeletal structure of the school, they are the backbone of the school. They keep it glued together each and every single day. You see us in the blue compared to other school districts in green on this slide. This is teacher assistant starting rate pay. Again, the Rockwood School District in blue, the rest of St. Louis County in green. These folks allow students to be regulated, supported, and ultimately able to actively engage in the learning process within our classrooms themselves. They are part and parcel of what we do on a daily basis. You see where we're falling in comparison to other school districts in St. Louis County. And lastly, our child nutrition workers, specifically starting salary for cooks. You see the Rockwood School District in blue compared to others in green. That's one challenge. Another challenge that we have as a school district is this conversation around benefits. These full-time or full-time equivalent staff work in our district, but we are not able to provide them full-time benefits. So if we look at a hall monitor, if we are able to offer a certain rate of pay, but a comparable school district is able to offer a comparable rate of pay for that particular employee, most of the school districts that you have seen listed in green also offer full-time health care for those particular employees in their respective school districts. So if you add benefits onto what they are able to offer, even if you are able to recruit that staff member, how long are you going to be able to retain that staff member? It is an ongoing issue, and we need these folks, again, here in our schools, supporting our students, supporting what's happening within classrooms at least every day that we have school in the Rockwood School District. SSOs. A tremendous amount of credit is owed to the Board of Education for getting behind a very wild, it's not wild, but a big idea of arming experts to come into our schools and add a layer of support. It was a loud, big swing, and it was the right move to make, in part because they are exceptional at what they do. All of them have been school resource officers in the past. All have been members of law enforcement, and they understand their role. I ask staff one thing: just treat them the same way you would any other member of the Rockwood family, and that's exactly what happened. And these gentlemen feel truly appreciated and valued as a result of it. I call them to their face and behind their backs like the granddad you would not want to mess with. They are all technically, I will say, proficient at what they do, but they add a sense of calm, not anxiety to situations. Whether it's power that's knocked out in a building because a squirrel happened to chew through a feeder, an electrical feeder. I don't think that squirrel's with us, but their presence literally at that elementary school made a difference. They are there literally every single day. They start on one end of the quadrant and work their way across the entire quadrant, and they're just there. Whether it's at the start of the day to bump fists at the start of the school day, checking doors, checking campuses, in hallways, their presence makes a difference. What we would love to do is take that number from 4 school safety officers up to 6 school safety officers to further enhance and deepen our footprint when it comes to safety within the Rockwood School District. They also support non-elementary events. If you have been to a football game, our SSOs are there, and they are there to help support a variety of behaviors, including some energetic middle schoolers who make their way to high school football games as well. They've been a fantastic addition. We'd love to expand, again, from 4 to 6 school safety officers. What will Prop S ultimately generate? It will be a one-time adjustment to our district's operating tax rate. The board 3 Thursdays ago approved the tax rate for September of 2025. The next opportunity for the board to reset the tax rate will come in September of 2026. So theoretically, Prop S passes, you can see our revenue would jump from this price point up to this price point. It's a one-time adjustment. Then moving forward, we will use existing funding streams to continue to provide pay increases for our staff. That is the thought behind Prop S, a one-time adjustment to catch us up, to make us more competitive with other school districts in St. Louis County, and then we ultimately would move forward. There's not enough revenue to make us a top 3 to top 5 school district in terms of competitiveness, but it will allow us to be more competitive than we are right now when it comes to salaries and, as you've seen, benefits in St. Louis County. So what will it generate? A 45-cent levy increase will generate an approximated $27 million of additional revenue. Of that, $17.1 million will be used to make those salary adjustments that I just described. The $3.7 million here is needed to help close that gap that we have when it comes to health care, health plan eligibility. The just under $150,000 is the estimated cost to bring 2 additional school safety officers on board. And then just under $6 million is needed to help us be in alignment with the longstanding Board of Education policy in the Rockwood School District that says we are to maintain 22% in our fund balance. Think of the comparative conversation we had when it came to 2 other school districts. We're 79% locally funded. Pattonville is 85 to 86% locally funded. Parkway is 91.5% locally funded. Mathematically speaking, they are less dependent upon state and federal funds than we are as a school district. That will give us some cushion just in case the unforeseen were to, in fact, happen as a school district. We have had this question, so we want to directly address this particular question. Will the pay raise be equal for all employee groups? The answer is no. We're going to engage in a comparative market analysis or a comp study. We will lay our positions out compared to those same positions that exist in other school districts in St. Louis County, and we will make adjustments based off of the numbers that we see themselves. There are some groups that will receive more adjustment than other groups will, but the market analysis, the comp study itself, will help to answer that question. We're talking about all employee groups, but the percentage or the number is not going to be the same. The timing of this is also important. It will not happen in 2025. And the reason for that is this. There are at least 3 to 4 school districts that will be engaging in negotiations with teachers and other groups this school year. There's at least 1, potentially 2 school districts that are actually opening and beginning to have conversation of putting something, in fact, on the ballot for their respective school districts. What we're going to do is wait until the revenue, in fact, comes in and have a truer set of numbers to base our reality and our comp study against what's happening elsewhere in St. Louis County. That's the fairest thing we can do for employees within our school district. Let those numbers settle. Let's have a true idea of what the numbers, in fact, look like, engage in the comp study, and then ultimately move forward. I'm also going to say this. Do I believe that every single patron in the Rockwood School District is going to be in complete consensus of thought when it comes to the results of the comp study? Since I have never seen that before, I'm going to assume that's not, in fact, going to be the case. But we do need something objective to help set the stage so that people understand what's going to happen with that comp study itself. So what will it cost? Please remember that the proposed increase is 45 cents per $100 of assessed value, which is 19% of your county appraised value. We have this website, which is our Prop S tax calculator, that you can absolutely use to run the numbers at home yourself. What is this impact going to look like in your respective home? That's an important question, and it's important that you were able to answer that. So a home that has a $200,000 county appraised value, you can see the increase is $14.25 a month, A home at $300,000 in terms of county appraised value, $21.38. $400,000, that's $28.50 a month, and then $500,000, that is $35.63 on a monthly basis. This home has to be one of the most frequently driven by homes in the entirety of the Rockwood School District as a result of this now being our 80th presentation. It's in Eureka, Missouri. You can see the Zillow value actually does not impact this calculation. The St. Louis County appraised value ultimately impacts the St. Louis County assessed value. From that, you can figure out the Prop S estimate for this home that does exist in our school district, and it's $25.55 a month. Again, that tax calculator is listed at the bottom of the slide. If you want to run the numbers at home, you have every right to, in fact, do so, with one exception. We have a senior tax freeze that is now in place for residents of both St. Louis and Jefferson County. As long as you apply and are approved for the senior tax freeze by June 30th of 2026, you can see the base year appraised value, assessed value, and you can ultimately see the tax, the Rockwood portion of the tax bill itself, and what is due. Theoretically speaking, this is year one of Prop S. You see the appraised value, assessed value, and again, the Rockwood portion of the tax bill that is due for this particular residence. That is the senior tax freeze. We have had multiple conversations with the Department of Revenue in St. Louis County because we want our senior community, as well as our district as a whole, to have clarity of what the senior tax freeze means, what it looks like, and how it impacts individuals. It's not the time or the space for confusion, but we recognize that this is new. This is a tool that has never been available to our senior community in the past, and we want to make sure that there is clarity, that we have understood so we are able to communicate what this will mean and look like for residents within our school district. It is truly all about the people, so we're going to hear from a fantastic social studies teacher at Crestview Middle School, Megan Menchella.
Hi, my name is Megan Menchella. I work at Crestview Middle School in the Rockwood School District. This is the start of my 11th school year. The community does everything to support the students, the staff, the district itself. You build a lifelong community from even the early childhood center, from the elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and beyond. We really collaborate on what works best for each student and how to really see each student as an individual. I really enjoy seeing these students come through our doors, figuring out who they are and who they want to be, and then we all pour so much into them. By the time they leave 8th grade or by the time that they leave middle school, they have become really their own unique individual person. I have built the most amazing relationships where I see students from 8th grade all the way to them emailing me now as adults. The environment and the atmosphere that Rockwood creates is full of support and collaboration. So I choose to stay for the people that are here.
November 4th is quickly approaching. Every vote counts. Prop S will require a simple majority +1 in order to pass. I personally and professionally strongly believe in what I'm going to say to you next. It's important for Prop S that you be educated, be aware, and then ultimately go cast your ballot. I also believe that's true regardless of what is on the ballot. If there is a ballot item, you need to be informed, be aware, and ultimately go cast your ballot. This particular proposal builds off of our long-standing history and record of fiscal accountability and responsibility to help ensure strong staff, safe schools, and ultimately not only a secure future for our school district, but our community as a whole. There are great things happening in this school district, and we truly want to help keep it moving forward. But to be clear, we need your help in informing our community. With Prop 3, there were 56 presentations. This is the 80th presentation for Prop S. As of now, there are 101 presentations that have been slated. There is not a whole lot more that I can share. Unfortunately, cabinet members know almost the jokes that I'm going to share at certain points throughout the presentation, but it's never truly been about what I'm saying or what Cabinet is saying with the presentations as well. It's truly, what are you saying? What are those conversations around Prop S? What do they look like? When and where are they happening? Are they in fact happening? It's 80-some degrees outside right now. At some point it will not be, and you will still be on the sideline watching your child play soccer. Sometimes you're shivering, but you're there because your kid is playing soccer. What does the conversation look like when it comes to Prop S? If you're at the grocery store, what does that conversation look like? If you're at the barber shop, I won't be there, but someone's going to be there. What does that conversation look like when it comes to Prop S? Because it's not about what I'm saying. It is about what parents, what staff, and the community as a whole is saying about Proposition S. A quick story. 3 days before the start of the school year, I'm walking down the hallway at Kerrs Mill Elementary School, and I see Julie on the other end of the hallway. She's got a bounce in her step, which is interesting 3 days before the start of the school year, but she also has a plant. And so that equation all didn't calculate in my head. So we began to have a conversation about the plant itself. Julie had the student that is standing next to her in class last year. And for whatever reason, if that plant was in the classroom, that particular student had a better day. She took the plant home, cared for it over the course of the summer, and then brought it back. You don't necessarily see it on his face in this picture, but I was in the classroom and I saw his face when he first saw that plant. Remember, that was her student last school year, 24-25, not this year, 25-26. But she still took the time to take care of the plant over the course of the summer. There's no curriculum outcome, there's no assessment expectation, and there's absolutely nothing in our contract that says our teachers have to care for plants over the course of the summer and then bring them back the next school year. The reason Julie did it is very obvious. She clearly cares about this young man. She knows what helps set him up to have a great day at school, and she's truly dedicated toward her craft. Although it's not a plant, we have a story like this down every hallway, in every building, and every department in the Rockwood School District. And so we are in a place, I will go back and say, it's been 31 years. We need to take care of the people that take care of our kids. That picture is a snapshot as to why Prop S is so critically important. So we're almost halfway there with the Prop S evening conversations in each one of our quadrants. We will be at both Eureka High School and Lafayette High School in the coming weeks. And to keep the conversation going, we know we have stakeholders that have midday and evening conflicts that don't allow them to participate in conversation. So we've been meeting very early in the mornings, on Friday mornings, to have conversations with community members that in fact have questions. And so we will continue. We have 2 more opportunities on the 22nd and October 30th for those conversations. Some may or may not know this has nothing to do with the proposition. One factoid, I don't drink coffee, but Mountain Dew with Dr. Kane sounds weird, so we moved away from that as a title for this, and we're going to go with coffee as a title for these conversations as well. We want to have the conversations that are necessary to provide clarity and information so people can ultimately cast their ballot. This is an email address that can be utilized with a QR code reader. From that, you can submit questions that will be potentially a part of our FAQ document. This slide actually has a bounty, a plethora of resources related to Prop S. An ever-expanding frequently asked question document. There are a number of resources that are mission critical to helping inform our community and our patrons about Prop S, and you can find those resources on that particular website. Again, Prop S, November 4th, it's strong staff, safe schools, and a secure future. We appreciate you carving out time to be here for this very important conversation. Thank you very much and have a great evening.